afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Formula GT Season 8, Round 8. It's the penultimate round here in Season 8 for Formula GT, and we are here at the beautiful Watkins Glen International Racing Circuit. This track is situated in a very popular state here in the United States of America. It is in New York, out of town, also called Watkins Glen. This track is about 3.45 miles or 5.552 kilometers around, and it's a track that has been around since the 1950s. Although its current iteration, what we're currently racing on, has only been around since 1992. This has been a very popular circuit. It has hosted races in Formula 1, IndyCar, NASCAR, endurance races, just to name a few. And today, we're racing at this very magnificent circuit. And yeah, I'm really excited for this one. Penultimate round. We only have one more round after this, heading to Interlagos. And we can also see a Constructors Champion crowned here today. As it stands right now, Exo High Caliber has a 47-point gap to Deadeye Racing. And if they get that gap up to 49 or higher, then they will win the Constructors Championship here. Ideally, they'll even want just an extra security point of extending that gap to 50 points. So if the gap is 50 points or more, regardless of what happens at Interlagos, Exo High Caliber Racing will be crowned your Constructors Champions of Formula GT Season 8. So there's a lot to play for here today. We've seen some rapid drives in the last few races. Fuji was an especially spicy round. And honestly, I think that we're going to see another very spicy round here at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen, from what I've heard from some of the drivers, does have one of the most notorious pit lanes on the entire calendar. So, if you go too hot into the pit lane in this race, you're going to get handsomely rewarded with a 3-second time penalty. We've seen time penalties happen before. And I mean, that 3-second time penalty is just honestly one of the most annoying penalties that you could possibly get in this game. It's funny enough, it's a lot of the American tracks that have that problem. Road America is another one that tends to have this problem. Road Atlanta does have that problem of being really painful when it comes to the pit lane in particular. And yeah, and speaking of American tracks, we have an American driver here, Venomous Venom. He's actually from New York, so this is effectively his home race here today. So it's gonna be a really important race for the American. The current Deadeye representative, he joined in at Monza, and he's had some pretty stellar drives since then. He's always finished higher than he has qualified, which is pretty good for a rookie. And a rookie on controller, nevertheless. I know I wouldn't be able to pull out such good results, but that just shows the amount of talent that we attract here to Formula GT. We'll go to the on-track action as we have some cars coming on track. JW, another standout rookie who got P2 in his first and so far only race for the FR Racing team. And also, we have some more drivers loading in. Matt is another driver who has joined in partway through the season on behalf of Scuderia Racing Force. And JW is going to be currently the first car out on track, with Matt just shortly behind him. Actually, Matt's already going to go out on track. So, just to give you like a idea of like the structure of how this series goes, if you are unfamiliar. Well, first off, welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube, because shortly after this race is done and wrapped up, the entire stream VOD will be on YouTube, so you can watch it at any time. Now, how the series works is that we have a 30-minute practice session spanning from 12:30 to 1300. And then we go to qualifying for about 10 minutes. And then, after qualifying, we let the drivers take about a 5-ish minute break, depending if we have any like issues with drivers joining the lobby or anything of the sort. And then we get going with the race. And then after the race, then the drivers can take a break. And it is the holiday weekend, so if you are traveling or even watching this while you're traveling, well, first off, I wish you the safest of travels, and I hope you have a great time during your holiday. Now, which one of these drivers is going to get the holiday gift of winning a race, and potentially could XO High Caliber gift themselves a championship win here today at Watkins Glen? All that more to play for here as we start the practice. We have 3 cars currently on track as Matt from the Scuderia Racing Force team. Scuderia Racing Force is a team that might have flown under the radar a bit for some of the drivers here. But Scuderia Racing Force has done pretty solid throughout the season. They're currently P3 in the Constructors Championship, and Fernando Gomez was championship leader for a short while until the race at Fuji, where Whiteout took the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Unfortunately, he won't have a chance to close out that championship today, but he'll have a shot at the final round of Interlagos. And that's the one thing I love seeing, is seeing a championship battle come down to the very end as Matt comes to the end of his car's current grip, and as JW just expertly weaves around the spun car of Matt as we go on board with the Brit now. Watkins Glen is a deceptive track. It looks easier than it actually is. It's got a lot of high-speed moments, especially going through Sector 1. It's honestly kind of like the American Monza, if you will. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but yeah, I mean, honestly, coming from the back straight into the inner loop, it's a very fast-paced and tricky chicane. So you could possibly get a penalty there for track limits, and it's happened one too many times to count, and also the aforementioned pit lane exit penalties that we might see here today. JW currently has the fastest time on the board with a 1 minute 23, about 14 seconds faster, but we haven't seen Matt put a representative lap in yet because of that spin. And yeah, alright, oh, we have Ricky as well. Ricky is here. I know we have some other drivers joining in. Ricky is on track. This is a home race for him as well, being another American driver, and actually Whiteout, our current championship leader, this is his home race as well. So we got quite a few drivers having their home races happen today. And yeah, we're really excited to see how this penultimate round plays out. Just making sure that we don't have anyone who's unable to join the lobby. As of right now, that is currently not the case, which is very good. And yeah, Watkins Glen is honestly a track I really wish was utilized more in other series. It's such a fun track and very tricky, as we see Ricky go through the inner loop. That inner loop chicane is tough, and there's the half-second penalty that I was mentioning before. So yeah, it is very tricky on this track. And I mean, yeah, it's basically American Monza. High speeds and really tight chicanes occasionally. But I do think we're going to get some excellent racing here today. And fun fact, this is actually, like the last race, this is actually one of the races that you can do in the regular Gran Turismo 7 career mode in the Super Formula cars. Fuji, Watkins Glen, trying to remember, I know there's other tracks, I'm trying to remember them off the top of my head, but the last 2 rounds definitely are rounds that you can run in Super Formulas in the regular career mode of Gran Turismo 7. They're also some of my favorite events to run, just because I absolutely adore the Super Formula SF24 machine, or 23 machine, sorry. It is such a nice car, really fun to drive, and it produces really good racing, as we've seen through the last 7 rounds of this championship. And I'm starting out round 8 is going to be no different. We're going to go on board here with Venomous Venom, the Deadeye Racing driver. Stepped in mid-season, and honestly, he's done pretty good. This series brings in some very talented drivers, and a lot of standout performances have come from these drivers that have showed up partway through the season, like the aforementioned JW. JW got a P2 on his first outing in Formula GT, which is extremely impressive by a rookie coming into his season mid-season. It's not easy for anyone, but very well done indeed for him. We've also seen some very good drives from the likes of J-Mac, Ricky, the two IHR drivers racing today. Now, IHR recently did lose a position in the championship to Project Zero, so they're going to look hard to try to crawl that one back. But yeah, I think we're going to have an excellent race here today. Watkins Glen is a very fast track, but it bites. I know IMSA uses this track for their 6 hours of the Glen. I've even seen some iRacing esports races here, which have been pretty fun to watch. But I know we're going to have a blast watching these drivers race here today at Watkins Glen. No one has been able to upset the time of JW, but Ricky and Venomous Venom have gotten close. Venomous Venom is about 1 second off, and Ricky B is about just under 7/10 off of that time, but we know how rapid JW can be if Monza's anything to go by. Just from recent, just from his only outing I've seen of this driver, JW does tend to fancy the higher speed circuits. This track, I believe, does use a lower BOP setting when it comes to downforce, so I believe it runs the high speed setting, which does make sense, because I mean it's a very fast track. And so, yeah, these drivers won't have as much downforce as, say, they would have at Barcelona earlier on in the season. But I have heard that this track has been particularly tough on the soft compound tire, so I know that's probably going to play a factor in today's race. But also, something to note is that tire strategy is definitely going to play a factor, especially with the very dangerous pit stop that we have here. Now, the pit lane, if you're going too fast, it will bite you with that 3-second penalty, as I mentioned earlier. But if you get it right, then this is one of the, I say shorter pit stops in Gran Turismo, but we know Gran Turismo pit stops are still pretty lengthy. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what the pit strategies are going into the race. Now, personally, just from what I've heard from some of the other drivers, that it's going to be a medium to soft race here today, just because that the soft tires burn out really quickly around this circuit. So maybe someone down the grid might take a charge and go for an undercut, but I'm thinking we are going to see a medium to soft tire strategy here today. Now, for those of you who might not know, you have to use both the medium and soft tire compounds in every race in Formula GT. You start on one and then you have to pit to the other. You can make additional pit stops if you want, but you're only going to have the soft and medium tires available to you. The racing hards are not in the series, and we don't race with rain or, well, I was going to say snow, but I mean, we don't have snow tires on these cars, as fun as that would be. So the wet and intermediates are not available. I mean, technically they are available, but there's no sense of running them compared to the slicks, because slicks just have that more grip. Now, if you're maybe a bit new to racing, and honestly, I welcome you, because racing is an absolute blast once you get into it. Now, what is the difference between the medium and soft tire compounds, you might ask? And I'll even explain the hard tires as well, in case you want to get into racing on Gran Turismo, which I highly recommend if you have the time and availability for it. A lot of fun, a lot of talented drivers like the drivers you are currently seeing here on track. But the medium tire compound is the definite 50-50 when it comes to the three primary dry racing compounds. It's got medium tire grip and medium tire life. Now if we go to the soft tire, the other tire that we run here in Formula GT, the soft tire has a lot more grip compared to the medium, but it has a shorter tire life because of its softer composition. The hard tire, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. It has the least amount of grip of the slick tires, and it's got the most tire life. Maybe we'll see hards introduced again next season. Who knows? You'll just have to stick around to find out by following here and following us on, or subscribing to us on YouTube. Now, coming back to the on-track action. We're currently on board with the second place driver in the championship, Fernando Gomez. Gomez has been a very rapid driver, although the last 2 rounds haven't been the best for him. Monza and Fuji have not been his strongest drives, like we saw earlier in Spa and Austria. But yeah, Gomez is a very talented driver, very consistent. There's a reason why he was leading the championship at one point, and even now he's only in P2. So there's a reason why he earned the nickname of Speedy Gomez. Very solid during the preseason as well. The Mexican driver doing really well for his team. As we look through some of the other drivers, we have currently 7 drivers on track, and I'm assuming we will get more as we get closer to the actual race day. Still no mentions of issues with joining the lobby. If you are just now joining the stream, thank you so much for tuning in. We're so happy to have you here. Make sure you go ahead and follow us here and on all of our socials, just so you don't miss any of the following action. We got some excellent racing here today, and we have one more round before we wrap up the season. And then I've heard some rumors. I don't know if these rumors are true yet, but I have heard some rumors of another miniature season during the off season. So you guys will definitely want to stick around for that. Not sure what it is yet, or if it's even confirmed, but there have been rumors. And especially if those rumors are true, you do not want to miss them. And besides, before you know it, Formula GT will be back. One major thing between us and Formula 1 is that we don't take several months in between the off season. So we'll be back before you know it. On board now with Lucian, who got P2 in the last race, part of the current Constructor Championship leaders. And XI Calibers just had such a phenomenal season here, as these drivers get really close to the wall there. And we see Whiteout has joined the lobby, the current championship leader. And B23 is here as well, so as I predicted, we're getting more drivers filling into the session. And I mean, there's just so many talented drivers here. We got drivers from all across the globe. Just in this session alone, you can see drivers from the UK, America, Mexico, and Norway. And we've had drivers from all across the globe here in this series. We've had drivers from Japan, Sweden, and Denmark. Or, I mean, the Netherlands, sorry, wrong country. Please don't execute me for that. But we've had some very talented drivers come through here from multiple different nationalities. And it really shows that racing is universal, right? It doesn't matter what country you're from, racing is just for you. And honestly, I'm so glad that we have so many talented drivers racing here today in Formula GT. I look forward to every single Formula GT race because I know I'm going to see some of the fastest drivers on the game racing here today. We will have qualifying in just about 11 minutes time. So that is definitely going to be that's definitely going to be fun. We do have our usual suspects that are probably going to vie for pole position. I know the high caliber drivers are going to go all out because the championship's on the line. They can seal the deal here today with one round remaining. That just shows the absolute consistency of these high caliber racing drivers. We'll go on board with one of them now, with Lucian as he navigates this tricky American circuit. Now, this track isn't as tricky as, say, like a Barcelona or even the next round we have at Interlagos, but track limits will bite you, especially that pit limit. And I mean, you can see how close those drivers get to the wall at the end of the 90, which is the name of turn 15 here at this circuit. So I mean, honestly, if drivers are not careful, they could just go too deep out of the exit of the 90 and just hit the wall and cause damage. Now, we run light damage, so it's not permanent damage, and also we don't have to stress any mechanics out by giving them a lengthy repair bill. One of the major benefits of being on the virtual side of the track. Now, we'll switch the POV to our current championship leader, the other Exo High Caliber Racing Machine. And what a season Whiteout's had. He missed 2 rounds and is still on top of the driver standings. He took the championship lead last time out in Fuji. He's only got a few points ahead, so unless Gomez has a massive disconnect, actually I don't think even by then, I don't think he could close up the championship, mathematically anyway. I mean, we knew Whiteout and Viper were favorites to win this championship coming into it, and Viper hasn't been around for the last few races, so Deadeye Racing has been knocked down to a single driver, but it still doesn't downplay the absolute consistency from these high caliber drivers. Lucian and Whiteout are 2 of the quickest drivers in the league. And there's that 3-second penalty. I can assure you that's probably due to pit lane. That pit lane exit is going to be probably the most annoying thing in this entire race. Drivers can have a stellar drive, but just get that pit lane 1 inch incorrect, and then you get what poor Lucian has, which is a 3-second slowdown penalty. And these type of penalties are tricky because it slows your car down to around 50 miles an hour, which compared to the speeds that these cars usually run at, around the 150 to 170 range normally, then that is just very unfortunate, and you're going to lose a lot of time. The half-second penalties are still annoying, but they're not as painful as the 3-second penalty. So I believe we will see a minimum of at least 1 or 2 pit lane penalties throughout the actual race. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that is not a commentator curse I just placed on the lobby, but in some of the practice sessions I've had the pleasure of sitting in on, then yeah, it's gonna happen. And I believe in chat we have said that JW might have had a disconnect issue. I haven't seen anything in chat about that yet, or like in Discord, so. But we know Gran Turismo likes to do Gran Turismo things every so often. It likes to disconnect drivers. I mean, in Monza, it crashed my game. So we know Gran Turismo likes to have its Gran Turismo moments. But we are glad that we just have him back in the lobby, as Lucian is on track to set the fastest lap of this practice session here. And I mean, that's the one thing you really want as a team. And I know the high caliber team leader, I believe his name is Anthony, someone can correct me if I'm wrong in that. I know he's happy to see his 2 drivers sitting or getting consistent 1-2s and always matching each other's pace very well. That's the one thing you want as a team owner. You definitely want your teammates to be close and competitive. And that is exactly what high caliber racing is. Close and competitive. As we switch POVs now to JW. We also have Glen, I believe his name is, one of the reserve drivers from Exo High Caliber, just on track. I've had the pleasure of watching him race occasionally on I've seen him race in Grand Prestige League, some of their races, and Declan is he's a very quick driver. Maybe we'll see him on the grid full-time next season. He hasn't had a race yet this season, but he's shown up in some of the practice sessions. As we see one of the Sohei Racing drivers join the lobby in Gothboy. So we see a few of these drivers currently on track, but no. And Lucian does set the fastest time of this practice session. Sorry, oh, that was a sector maybe. I heard something ding, but regardless. Schulte now currently P4 on track, but it's a practice session, so practice times don't essentially matter a whole lot. You just want to get familiar with the track. But qualifying, which is about to start in 5 minutes, that's the thing you want. And before we get into qualifying, I do want to shout out our sponsors for this league. We have W.GG Energy. Use promo code FormulaGT at your checkout to get yourself a nice 10% discount. You'll be supporting the league and giving us opportunities to do some really cool stuff in future events. Also, if you want a Formula GT themed cup, fuelcan.shop. It's actually on the side of... this car's not on track yet, but it is on the side of the Deadeye Racing machine. And then we also like to thank Velocity Media and IHR Karting Accessories for sponsoring this league. We couldn't have done it without you guys, and we're so glad that you are a part of our journey. We're also glad to have all of you watching on Twitch currently, and eventually on YouTube later. We thank you guys so much. It means the world to us. You are seeing some of the most talented drivers in Gran Turismo take to the track and just give it their all. We'll go on board with one of these Sohei racing machines as he pulls into the pits. Alright. Let's go on board with one of the aforementioned IHR cars. With IHR being a sponsor of the league, we'll go on board with one of the drivers. So currently they're fielding 2 reserves today, J-Mac and Ricky. We've seen some very solid drives from both of these drivers, and can't wait to see what their performance is here today. And both of them, this is a home race for both drivers here. So we actually have a lot of Americans on this grid now that I come to think about it. And as Venomous Venom said, Deadeye Racing is actually the only Toyota on the grid. Now, the Toyota and the Honda Super Formulas don't have a lot of performance differences because they are set to the same specs. I think there's a slight difference between the two, but it's not very substantial. We've seen Deadeye Racing win a good amount of races, and we've also seen High Caliber Racing, one is in the Toyota, the other being the Honda. Maybe we'll see some more of that variety next season, but regardless, it gives us good racing either way. So another thing that is interesting to note, and I want to actually bring this up with you guys here today, is did you guys see the new Gran Turismo F1 car that's coming to the game with the next update? It's reminiscent of the like 90s era of like the V10s or the V12s. So I think it's mostly modeled off of one of the 90s Williams, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to drive. I'm saving up my points to actually go get one as soon as it comes out. I'm also going to pick up the Hyundai because I think that car's going to be a lot of fun to drive, and also I'm a sucker for Hyundai. But yeah, I'm really excited for this next update, as I'm excited for this race that we're going to have here today. Qualifying is going to begin in 2 minutes. 2 minutes for qualifying. So, place your predictions in chat. Who do you think is going to get pole position here at Watkins Glen? Honestly, I think it's either going to be one of the high caliber drivers, or I think JW might pull a surpriser and go ahead and get pole position. I mean, it'd be amazing for a rookie to get pole position here, but we'll just have to see how everything plays out. We only got about a minute and a half left before qualifying takes place. We got 13 drivers currently on track. Pretty decent qualifying size. So, can't wait to see who finishes where when we start qualifying. And then, like I mentioned, we'll go ahead and take a quick break after qualifying wraps up. And then we're gonna go ahead and get into 22 laps around Watkins Glen. You guys definitely do not want to miss it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to let the drivers know that qualifying is starting. Qualifying is about to begin. We have 13 cars on track. Although I think we have 12 actually racing, because I don't think I do believe Glen is actually racing here today. I think he was just in the lobby. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and see. We have 12 cars ready to go for racing, and it is time. Curious to see if one of the other high caliber drivers leaves, as we see JW kind of messing with his transmission. Make sure his transmission is in working order. You do need to be able to shift gears to go through qualifying. And we see one that says W for B23. B23 is a very rapid driver. He's also a commentator, if you guys didn't know, and he's been a blast to commentate with. I've commentated with him a few times for GPL's GT500 season, and honestly, it was an absolute blast to commentate with. So, as we go on track here, these drivers are beginning their laps now. For qualifying, all these drivers are going to want to run the soft tire compound. Now, unlike other series or other games, you have an infinite amount of soft tires that you can run. So, it's not like you may have seen in some other leagues, like if you watch PSGL, but their F1 series, where you'll see sometimes drivers will go out on a medium tire compound for the first run and then switch to the soft. But yeah, so yeah, the soft tire is like the tire of choice. It has the most grip, but the least amount of life, but that's not really going to be a factor for you, because most drivers will just go back to the pits, reset, and then go back out again. Because I'm also going to pull it up on screen right now. There's also this meter on the bottom right of your screen, the one that was flashing red for Matt. That is the overtake. It adds a little bit extra horsepower to the car and gives it a speed boost. Now, when you go back to the pits, this overtake meter actually refills. So most drivers will want to burn as much overtake as they can to get the most amount of horsepower out of the cars. These cars already have 625 horsepower. So these things are fast, and from what I've heard from current F1 drivers, these things drive a lot closer to Formula 1 than Formula 2 cars, which they're, if you guys didn't know, the chassis for F2 and Super Formula are made by the same manufacturer, Dallara. So if you're customizing liveries, and you might have seen the Dallara sticker and like the brand logo section, now you know why. As you see, drivers start to begin, or start to set their first laps of the qualifying session. Lucian says the fastest time of the session with a 1 minute 21.08. A second and a half faster than Gomez. We'll see where Ricky ends up, another American driver. Oh, he's actually set a lap. His best lap time is a 1 minute 21. 1:21.007. So that was actually not a lap, so that's not an official lap. JW sets a really good time. He's only 3/10 away from Lucian now. Venomous Venom set a new record for himself with a 1:24. He's going to go into P. He was P7 for a bit, but Gothboy demotes him to P8. The Belgium driver for Sohei Racing. Up into a pretty good spot here in the session, with Killswitch setting a really good time for himself as well. As there's a little bit of argy-bargy there between Godboy and Matt. Hopefully that wasn't impeding, because that'll have to be looked up by the stewards, as we see Schulte, I believe, just pull off to the side a bit. And Declan actually goes ahead and sets a new personal time. I still have to confirm if he's actually racing or not. Because if he's not racing, unfortunately, regardless of where he qualifies, he will have to be removed from the session, because you cannot have 3 cars of the same team on track. And there would be 3 EXO high caliber drivers on tracks. Unfortunately, we cannot have that. The rules are set to 2, so unfortunately after qualifying, Declan will have to get removed unless one of the high caliber drivers goes ahead and gets a spot. Which is unfortunate. And I mean, hey, maybe we'll see him in a full-time seat next season, especially if one of the other high caliber racing drivers does take a move to a different team. We'll see what the future holds, because next season is looking pretty promising from some of the things I've been able to see. And wow, just look at the gap between Lucian and Whiteout right now. Is 0.009 tenths of a second. I'm sorry, 9,000ths of a second. Insane stuff from the EXO high caliber drivers. There's a reason why this team is highly regarded in the realm of Gran Turismo. The Exodus Motorsports team as a whole is just filled to the brim with fantastic drivers. As we're gonna go on board with Gomez for a bit. Actually, we'll do something we haven't done yet. Once this next lap starts, we'll actually go into a first-person POV for a lap. Haven't done that yet during the session, so we'll go ahead and give that to you guys. As drivers up and down the grid are setting new times. Oh, he touched the wall. Yep, he just went too deep coming out of the 90. And as promised, actually we'll go on the drivers currently on the lap. We're going to go on board with Whiteout, go from the helmet cam POV as he makes his way through the track, going into sector number 3, one of the higher speed sections of this track. And drivers up and down the grid are setting really good times, but no one has been able to dethrone Lucian from pole position currently. And JW sitting pretty nice in 3rd place, but actually Whiteout 4 tenths up on pole position time. As this track starts to get rubbered in, these lap times will fall a bit. And we'll see if he gets a 120. It is a 120. He is up into provisional pole position as we come down to the last 3 minutes of qualifying. As he heads into the pits. We'll go ahead and spectate one of the American drivers. We'll go ahead and get on board with, let's see, who's on a flyer. None of the Americans are on a flyer aside from J-Mac. We'll go on board with him. He does have a half-second penalty, so that's not going to bode well for him. As he crosses the line to start his next lap. He is currently P12 in the qualifying standings at the moment. We'll switch on board to one of the other American drivers. We'll go on board with B23. Switch up to the airbox cam as B23 just goes through before he hits the inner loop. The very tricky chicane. It's very easy to go wide, and there's a Matt who does his best to get out of the way. Doesn't impede, thankfully, for B23. B23 is actually sitting in a really good spot. This is one of his highest qualifying positions of the season if it were to stick. With about a minute and a half left of regulation for qualifying, we do give the drivers an extra 2 minutes to finish out their out laps, or to finish out their laps if they're currently on one. It was a change that was made mid-season after Spa, after a lot of drivers were on flyers of laps. That just unfortunately did not matter because the timer cut them off. Which, especially for Spa, which has the longest out lap in the entirety of Gran Turismo, it was a bit of a problem, so the change was made mid-season, which we are very, very thankful for. As we come down to the final minute of qualifying, as Gomez does go a bit wide, and yep, I mean, he might have time to set another qualifying out lap, but Godboy does improve his position, I believe, or he does improve his time, but not quite his position. Let's see. We'll go on board with another American for now. Let's go on board with Killswitch, one of the Project Zero cars racing here. As Schulte sets a 123 flat. Venomous Venom jumps up the order a bit. He's up in the P8 now. So the American drivers are doing the justice right now for their country. As Whiteout is also on pole position. So it's an American on pole as it stands on the American track of the season. We've had one other American race during the preseason at Laguna Seca. So it's not the only American race we've had, but it's the only American race we've had where points have been on the board. And Venomous Venom won't really get another chance to set another lap because it is the final lap. That timer's expired. And we see some more comments in chat. That is actually a really good fun fact brought up in chat by Bex, is that fastest IRL lap at Watkins Glen International is a 1:33 set by Bruno Giamelli. I'm probably mispronouncing that name, in 1980. So that just shows, I mean, granted, different machinery, yes, but that just shows how fast our drivers are here in this race, in this qualifying session. To set a lap time over 13 seconds faster than the official record at this track. It is absolutely insane. And I believe that might have been that's either a Formula 1 or a IndyCar lap time, I'm pretty sure. Because Formula 1 did used to race here at Watkins Glen. So, yep. Yep, and that's qualifying done and dusted. So, Whiteout will take pole position here at his home track. I mean, Whiteout's just been a dominant force within qualifying, so it is very, very not surprising to see him back on pole position. Unfortunately, we do have to remove Declan, so his time will not count because he would be the third EXO high caliber driving or EXO high caliber racing machine on the field. But yeah, we just now patiently wait for that timer to reach 0, or to reach that, I believe it's the 13-minute mark or 12:30 mark. But yeah, very excellent stuff there from High Caliber Racing. They're looking to seal this championship in. It is a 1-2 currently for the EXO High Caliber Racing squad. And that's not changing anytime soon because nobody else is on a flyer of a lap. So excellent stuff there. As we look back in chat, it does say Formula 1. And it's a W for the EXO's Motorsport squad, as you mentioned in chat. Yeah, I still want Watkins Glen to come back to F1. I'm sure you guys probably guessed by now, I am a big fan of F1. A good part of the reason why I absolutely adore these Super Formula cars, because they provide some really good racing. And yeah, so once that timer runs out, unfortunately, we're going to have to remove Declan from the session, but it was a very strong qualifying time for him. I'm sorry, Mr. Declan. We have to remove you, good sir. It is unfortunate. I do want to see you in a full-time seat next season. But rules are rules, unfortunately. So, taking a look back at the results, we have Whiteout, Lucian, Gomez, JW, Declan, who is unfortunately not going to be able to race, B23, Schulte, Ricky, and then going on to the next batch, we have Killswitch, Venomous Venom, Gothboy, Matt, and J-Mac. And that rounds out our grid. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back here shortly. Just gonna let the drivers know that we're gonna be starting at 13:20, and then we'll be here for 22 laps around Watkins Glen. We'll see you guys then. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. We got 1 minute to go. Seeing through the chat history, yeah, this track is actually pretty tricky. So, I mean, like they're mentioning in the Twitch chat at the moment, yes, this track is trickier than it may look. I mean, it's like Monza, it looks like a very simple track, mostly straights with a few tight chicanes, but this track is fast and wild. So, especially that inner loop part, that chicane is really tricky. And it's that time. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the race is starting now. It is time for 22 laps around Watkins Glen, and it's going to be a spicy race here today. In the Big Apple in New York, it is time to go lights out in New York. At Watkins Glen, it is race time. And we wait for those 5 red lights to come on. Those inline 4s are revving. The lights are going on. 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. It's a great start for the high caliber drivers. As JW is looking to make a position up onto Gomez coming into turn 1. Oh, a lot of contact there in the backfield there. Some drivers do have to go wide, but that is just the nature of this track. We have survived turn 1 without any major incidents as Lucian actually jumps up into the lead from his American teammate. Very close racing there between the extra high caliber drivers. Now, as Ricky actually shoots himself up into P4. As we come into one of the most intense parts of this track, the chicane of Venom has actually jumped himself up quite a few positions. Both cars going very wide off track. That's probably going to be a penalty for both cars. And there it is. Half second for both Venom and Ricky B. See if any other penalties are up and down the grid. As Venom is looking to try to make a move onto Ricky, but they're both going to lose quite a few positions with that half second penalty hanging over their heads. Their cars will ghost, so there's no impeding possibilities. As we see B23, and I believe that was Matt going a bit wide there on the exit of the boot. And wow, this has been a chaotic race now. And actually JW must have had an incident because he's way off in the backfield now. Oh, and Schulte goes seriously wide. What happened there? Can't even see his car. He got spun way around there. So undoubtedly some contact between JW and Schulte, as Lucian will set the official fastest lap of this race at the end of lap 1. Yeah, I wonder what happened there between Schulte and JW. We'll have to check that one out later on. But for right now, it is Lucian ahead of Gomez. Now, if High Caliber Racing gets 3 or more points ahead of, or extends their gap, I should say, by 3 or more points to Deadeye Racing, then they are the team's champions of Season 8. As it gets very wide and very dicey there. These front 3 cars are there. Gomez thinking about a move up the inside. Whiteout blocks off. He shows that expert car positioning that you need out of a championship leader. Now Gomez is Whiteout's main championship rival. Only a few points separates them. So it is very possible that we might see the championship gap close up even more between Whiteout and Gomez. And as Gomez he's got the inside, he's got the move, but he forces Lucian very wide. And now it's just between Whiteout and Gomez for that front spot, but Lucian is not letting that go lightly. Lucian did have to go wide there off the exit of turn 15. And he's going to have to try to claw back that position. But as it stands right now, positioning-wise, they're still going to win the Constructors' Championship if this race finishes as is. Oh, it's going to be very tight. Racing will go on board onto the halo cam of Lucian. He gets the move done, and he's got it into the loop. But Gomez is staying right on top of him. Gomez is fighting. There's a driver's championship on the line. He had the better run out of the corner, but Lucian just has that better car position. Excellent stuff there from both Lucian and Gomez. Gomez is feisty today. He's wanting moves left, right, and center. As we'll go down the field just a bit, as we see Venomous Venom currently sitting up into P5 at the moment. Seeing a few other battles around here. Cars are close to each other, but it is very early on in the race. So we'll just have to see how this race unfolds. Still a pretty long race, 22 laps still. It's a 22 lap race, so they got about 19 laps to go. It'll be start of lap 4 soon, and it is start of lap 4 already for a good chunk of the field. Some very tight racing now. Lucian is going to try his best to possibly play wingman to Whiteout because he knows Whiteout and Lucian are Whiteout and Gomez are so close in the championship right now. Lucian will make the pass, but the two high caliber teammates, they're not going to make it easy, but they're not going to be extra defensive, especially because they know that they can finish out the team's championship here today. Both championships are still up for grabs, but it is looking very likely that the Constructors Championship will be wrapped up here today at Watkins Glen. Gomez is not giving up without a fight. He wants P2 and he wants to win. He wants his first win of the season. He came close to some of the preseason races, but just not quite enough to take a race win. Oh, as the two high caliber drivers get really close to each other. Coming out of the exit of, I believe that is turn 13. You like to see close, clean racing. And I think Gomez was going to try and move, but is he just burning up his tires too much going for these moves? That is the question here, because, I mean, a one-stop is the ideal strategy. It is not the mandatory strategy, because you can make as many pit stops as you want, but you have to run both tire compounds. You have to run a soft and medium tire compound. Oh, they're so close, and there's a little bit of contact between Gomez and both of the high caliber drivers. Getting very dicey here, and Gomez makes a move into the inner loop, but he goes a bit off track. That's probably going to be a half-second penalty there for the Mexican driver. And there it is. So he's going to fight to keep Lucian behind him, but Lucian is inevitably going to pass as the penalty line comes ever closer. If you see the slowing down thing above Gomez's name, that means he's about to go through the penalty lane. And there's that half-second penalty that he had to serve, and Lucian moves back up into P2. And IHR is actually in a really good spot right now. IHR currently sitting in 4th and 5th. J-Mac very comfortably in 4th, as Ricky and Venomous Venom are both going to have to try and fight. They're going to fight each other tooth and nail. We've seen them fight at Monza and also at Fuji as well. We've seen these drivers fight. We know they're very good at wheel-to-wheel racing, and it'll be very interesting to see how the battle between the two Americans comes out. Now, I don't know about any of these other American drivers currently on the grid, but I know for Roman, this is a definite home race. It's in his home state of New York, so he's going to want a very solid performance here in today's race. He's just going to want to do as good as humanly possible. Tire data. All right, Pixel, we'll go and show you the tire data. We'll display here. Let's go ahead and focus primarily on these top 2 drivers. So Whiteout, Lucian, and Gomez are all on the medium tire compound. J-Mac is on the softs, but look at that tire wear on that front left. On the front left, that tire it's more cooked than barbecue ribs on the 4th of July. So yeah, I did mention that the soft to medium strat was not going to be very common. And honestly, I do not think it was the right call, especially with how much those soft tires burn out. We'll go down the grid here a bit. We'll go to Ricky. Actually, we'll just pilfer through these drivers really quickly. So yes, it does appear that J-Mac is the only driver on the soft tire compound, and he's coming in the pit. We'll go ahead and watch him in the pit lane. Now we'll see if he gets hit with that 3-second penalty. Tire change going on. The soft tires were cooked. Now on to the mediums. This is going to be a pretty long stint for those mediums to run as the IHR machine comes out of the pits. And we'll go ahead and see where he comes out. Probably towards the back of the pack. And he survives. He survives coming out of pit exit without a penalty. So very good stuff there from these drivers. And yeah, I wanted my prediction of at least 1 or 2 pit exit penalties is going to happen. Because so far, I don't think we've seen that yet. And you are more than welcome, Pixel. I want to see you in a full-time seat next season because I've seen how fast you can be. So I definitely want to see you in a full-time seat next time around for Season 9. And also, can't wait to see how you do in GPO. I know that you're heading into that season because their season is shortly after our season wraps up. So I can't wait to see how you do there. Back onto the current on-track action. It's pretty much been the Whiteout Illusion show. It's been a 1-2 domination race for this squad pretty much since the penalty with Gomez. As Killswitch gets the move done on the Venomous Venom now. B23 is going to go a bit wide, but he's going to maybe go for a double. He's got one. He does not get the other. Venomous Venom has dropped 2 positions. He lost one to Killswitch and a 1 to B23. But him and B23 are going very wheel to wheel there. Lots of contact between the 2 drivers, the 2 Americans. It is Seattle versus New York right now, and something must happen with Venomous Venom. He must have gone wide because he lost yet another position now to Matt, the Mexican driver in the Scuderia Racing Force machine. Now B23 is now going to have to chase down Killswitch, and third place all the way down to, from third place down to 6th, it's all Americans. And I'm curious to see, we'll pull up tire data once again. Did Whiteout pit? No, Whiteout did not pit, so I wonder what happened there. Did he just go wide out of corner? We must have missed it, but this is huge for the championship. Because Gomez and Whiteout are separated by less than 10 points. So it's a single-digit point gap between the 2, and with how close the scoring is here for Formula GT, I mean, we knew this season was going to go down to the wire between Gomez and Whiteout just because of how the scoring system is here at Formula GT, despite the fact that Gomez has yet to win a race here this season. As we watch Venomous Venom exit the pits. Now we'll see if he's the driver that's going to get hit with a penalty. Did he switch to the mediums is the question. We'll check that out real quick. He did. He's going to have to make another pit stop, so he's going for a 2-stop strategy here at his home race. Curious to see if anyone else will try that 2-stop strategy or if it's going to be a 1-stop. I mean, maybe for the soft runners, I was expecting it to be a 2-stop possibly, just because of how quick those soft tires burnt out. But yeah, I mean, those medium tires must have been just done. Although he did have a few off-track incidents with B23 there. So right now there is a pretty sizable gap between Gomez Illusion and Gomez and Whiteout. So right now the top 3 are spread out pretty far apart. We'll go up onto this battle between B23 and Killswitch. They're the only drivers within a second of each other, at least on track at the moment. We'll go down the field. Actually, JW and Matt are. JW's been having quite the recovery drive, as he had an incident early on in the race, that which knocked him down to to dead last, P12. He's going to try to go around the outside of Matt. Oh, a little bit of contact there causes him to lose a bit of traction, but JW does make up that position. Can he hold it going into the inner loop is the real question. He's pulling out the gap, and he's got it. The British driver from FR Racing going ahead and making his move up into P7. The driver who was P2 on his last outing in Monza, missed the last round in Fuji, but now he is back behind the wheel of the FR Racing machine, hoping to score more points for that team, the Mercedes-powered squad. As we see Killswitch and B23, their gap has formed quite a bit, as Ricky just kind of in a no man's land at the moment, just sitting comfortably in P4. This is going to do pretty well for their championship battle. The closest rival to them is Project Zero Racing, which I believe just overtook them last time out at Fuji after some very stellar drives from, I believe Pixel was in that race. I'll have to go back and check that later. But yeah, the gap has spread out quite a bit amongst all these drivers. So, while we await for another tight battle, yeah, actually, I think the closest gap is between Schulte and Venom, but Venom did just recently make a pit stop. So he's going to be a bit further behind the pack. So let's go ahead and talk about Interlagos for a moment. Interlagos over in Brazil is the season finale on January 4th. So it'll be the start of the new year, and we'll likely have a Constructors' Championship capped off by that point, but the Drivers' Championship will be the last thing remaining. So it'll be between Whiteout and Gomez, the two closest drivers in the Drivers' Championship. So it'll be between them for the Drivers' Championship, as Whiteout has been getting ever so closer. He's been about a second and a half faster than Gomez on these last few laps, so we might see a battle between the two title contenders here very, very shortly. Now back to Interlagos. Interlagos, a fan favorite track in all forms of motorsports. They race it in Formula 1, and a lot of the feeder series as well, like Formula 4, Brazilian stock car, which Brazilian stock car is a blast to watch, by the way, if you haven't ever watched it. Check it out after you check out the race here. But yeah, Interlagos is going to be a very fun race. We have 32 laps. It is a shorter circuit compared to this one, but it's a lot harder on the tires. Although I say that, but the soft tires got extremely cooked, extremely fast. So it's going to be all to play for in Brazil next time out, 2 weeks from now. So you guys definitely do not want to miss it. Season finale, it is going to be a fireball of racing. And a beautiful way to end off the season, as Interlagos is one of the best tracks ever created in the history of motorsport. J-Mac does have a 1 second penalty, probably for track limits, because if it was pit lane, it would be 3 seconds. So he'll slow down here. But luckily he's got such a gap to Gothboy, but he's got a pretty decent gap to Gothboy behind him, so he's not going to lose a whole ton of time. Not sure if any of these drivers actually got the 3 second penalty for crossing the pit line, as now the battle for P11 might commence here in a few laps time. So now the question is, let's check the tires again. So the tires on the front three are all pretty similar to each other. And now here's something worth noting, is that, well, J-Mac pitted in, so he's got fresh rubber. Well, actually, he pitted in a few laps ago because he was the only driver to start up on the soft tire compound. And now we have Killswitch, who actually just got out of the pits, who pitted in last lap. He's on the soft tire compound. Can he make the softs go to the end, or is it going to be a 2-stop? Looking at Venomous Venom, who started on the medium and went to another set of mediums, he's in a pretty solid spot. So he'll be the big dark horse, or question mark, on the pit strategies here. Because he's the only one that I know for a fact is going to have to run a 2-stop, because he's got to run the soft tire at some point. So he will have to make a second pit stop, inevitably, because of those tires. Matt is pitted in. Schulte is not pitted in. He paid for the whole tire, and he's going to use the whole tire. Wow. That front left is beyond cooked. That thing is charred right now. The Canadian driver absolutely getting the most out of the tires, and I mean, I think he's probably going to go for the 1-stop, honestly. I mean, because we can tell that this track really has a massive grudge against the front left tire. Because look at our front left tire compared to the other 3 tires, if you look on the bottom left of your screen there. That whole front left tire is gone. It is past tense. Those tires are just done. And Schulte agrees with me, so he's going to fire off into the pit lane. He's going to shed those tires. As we see the Project Zero car come on into the pits, you can just even see the graining on those tires. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what causes graining, is there's bits of rubber left out on the track just from the tires being used. So graining is essentially, it's also called marbling, I've heard it referred to as, but it's basically when you run over those little individual bits of rubber and it gets stuck to the tire, kind of creating almost an uneven surface on the tire, which could cause a little bit of a loss of traction, but it's not super detrimental in most cases. As we see, Whiteout has actually just recently retaken P2 from Gomez as they battle through the inner loop in the corner after it, coming into the boot section of the track, as JW and B23 both pit in at the same time. They both might have deployed a little bit light on the fuel, and they're both switching to the soft tires. So they're both going to try to make it to the end of this race on the soft tire compound. It is very possible that they could do that. Less than 10 laps remain on this tire, and we saw the laps, about 6 to 7 laps is like the tire life expectancy of the soft tire compound. So definitely something to keep an eye out on, as this battle between Whiteout and Gomez will go on board with the Mexican driver as they start lap 16. And Lucian is going to fire off into the pits. He'll be the first of the high caliber drivers to pit, and that means we'll likely see Gomez, Gomez maybe, but we'll likely see Whiteout pit the following lap as he goes a bit wide there on the exit of turn 1, which might result in a penalty. That corner is kind of tricky and bipolar on giving out penalties. I think he just kept it in as Lucian pits to the soft tire compound. Now, it's looking promising for the high caliber squad to score the maximum amount of points again, which would be 47 points. 47 points is the maximum amount of points you can get from a single race for a team, and 26 is the highest amount you can get as a driver. But with P23 offering 23 points, it's very hard in Formula GT right now to form a championship gap, which is one of the reasons why Gomez and Whiteout are so close to each other. It produces a really tight championship and some really tight racing in the process. I have also heard rumors that the scoring system might get an adjustment next season, so you'll definitely want to stick around for next season. We'll look and see. Oh, JW and B23, Sohei versus FR Racing, and the two front runners are going to go ahead and make their pit stops. And we'll see, they're both going to definitely come on the soft tire compound. And JW is on track to set a new personal best lap for himself as he battles the American driver in front of him, B23. Very good racing gear from these two drivers. They're going to keep it clean, but we've seen these drivers go wheel to wheel, and actually JW is on track to steal the fastest lap away from Lucian, but we'll see if that happens as they come around the last corner. We'll see if it is the fastest lap for JW. It's a personal best, but not quite enough to take the fastest lap away. As Ricky pits onto the soft tire compound, he's on a fresh set of rubber. He's likely going to try to charge and try to chase down JW and B23. We'll keep an eye on the IHR driver to see how that goes. As we get closer to the conclusion of this race, time has flown by on this track. Time flies when you have such extreme talents racing at breakneck speeds. As B23 is still going to try to chase down JW, try to retake that position, but JW's pace has been monstrous throughout the course of this race. This Lucian just improves his fastest lap of the race with a 1:23.2. And that is excellent stuff there from the Norwegian driver. This would be his first race win of the season, and it would lock in the Constructors title for Exo High Caliber. And what a season it has been for them. And Lucian is on track to even set another fast lap. And Whiteout is looking for improvements too, but the pace on the soft tires has just gone way into the favor of Whiteout. As you see Venomous Venom coming into the pits now to put on the soft tire compound. And a little splash of fuel. Fuel management has been a topic of discussion for this driver in the past, as Matt and Killswitch also come into the pits. And we'll see, I mean, there's such a gap between Venomous Venom and the next car ahead, Ricky, that I think this is going to be his ultimate race position. I think, unless Ricky pits it again, which Ricky just pitted in, or unless there's a massive accident, I think Venomous Venom is going to stay in P8. But now we have a battle here for P6 between Ricky and B23. We'll go on board with one of the American drivers involved in this fight, as he goes a bit wide on the exit there of the boot, and a half-second penalty to boot. But tis. Oh, he gets a little squirrely there, and he's lost it! Ricky has lost it a bit. We'll see if there's damage on that car. And there is! The front wing and the front right suspension have been damaged. So that's going to allow Roman to catch up, or at least claw back a bit of that time. We'll actually turn back on the car information. He's still got a lot of overtake left, so he can burn through that overtake on these next few laps and potentially claw back P7, especially after Ricky's incident. But he's getting very squirrely on the exit of some of these corners. But a 30-second gap to claw back is a monumental task for the American driver. No gaps really here at the front of the grid, as now we're going to turn back to B23 taking on JW as part of the last remaining few laps of this race. About 3 laps to go if you are on the lead lap. So now it is down to 3 laps to go for Lucian. Lucian now currently just sitting pretty in P1, got 4 seconds of a gap to his teammate. His teammate sitting in P2 comfortably, and I mean the top of the podium is not likely to change. As we look for another battle, there really isn't anything close as of right now. The gaps have spread out quite a bit. JW gaining about half a second just in that middle, that third sector alone. But it has been an excellent season for these drivers here. Lots of close battles, lots of very quick and rapid racing, and I'm honestly kind of sad it's almost over. Sorry about that. So now just looking on board with, we'll go on board with the lead American driver. We'll go to his PO, or his, yeah, we can switch to his POV. As he comes to take up the lapped car of Schulte, as they start the penultimate lap of lap 21. Yeah, that is such a tricky corner to take. I mean, because you're going so fast out of the exit of the 90 that it is very, very hard to see if you're going to make that corner or not. Because, I mean, it just shows how much practice and time and effort goes into this track. Because coming out of the heel, or sorry, coming out of turn 15, it is such a fast-paced corner. You exit the heel, you go to turn 13 to 14, and then it's a straight flat out from 15 to start finish straight. So we'll remain on board with Whiteout for the rest of this lap. And then we will switch to Illusion's POV as he comes across the finish line to take the checkered flag here at Watkins Glen. It's really cool. A really cool detail about Gran Turismo is if you pay attention to the front right, or front left of his tire, sorry, you can see a little bit of that graining surfacing on that front left tire as he makes his way through these corners. While he is pulling a good amount of a gap to Gomez, his championship rival, as we start the final lap of this race. Lap 22. We'll go and see if there's any battles currently on track. There is not at the moment. So we'll just go ahead and follow the POV of our likely race winner. Illusion has had a very strong race here. And I mean, a pretty good season. He missed quite a few rounds, but he's been, ever since he returned at Monza, he has been consistently within the top 3. He got P3 at Monza, P2 at Fuji, and now he's looking at a P1 if he can keep his teammate behind, who is pushing very hard. Or maybe we'll see team orders come into play, and Whiteout will take the win here at the last lap of the Grand Prix. We'll see if there's any high caliber rules. Couldn't think of a color combination to work for that. But it's gonna be a 1-2 for this squad, and it'll be Constructors Championship. And good grip, that voice crack. But there's only 2 more corners left to go now. 2 more corners left to go. And Exo High Caliber Racing, as they round the final corner. Exo High Caliber Racing, you guys are Constructors Champions of the World. It's a P1 finish for Illusion. Whiteout takes P2. And that's the Constructors Championship done and dusted. It is a championship victory for the High Caliber Racing squad. Well done, my friends. You guys are champions of the world in Season 8. Gomez rounds out the podium. J-Mac up into P4. With JW coming into P5. B23 coming into P6. Ricky rounding out the last corner into P7. Venom's only got a few corners left. We'll see if he can finish by the end of the race. He's on the final lap as well. And it is Constructors Champions of the World for Exo High Caliber Racing. Well done, my friends. You guys have done it. It's been a hard-fought season between you guys and Deadeye. Venom crosses the line into P8. Gothboy and Schulte will finish the lap down. Matt's going to come across the line in P9. And then Killswitch, just behind him, will finish off our grid in P10. And that is the race done and dusted, my friends. Your winner and now Constructors Champions of the World, Illusion from Exo High Caliber Racing. Take a bow. Exo High Caliber Racing, you guys are champions of the world. And what a season it has been for you guys. So just to go back through the positions here, we have Illusion, Whiteout, Gomez, J-Mac, JW, B23, Ricky, Venomous Venom, Matt, Killswitch, Gothboy, and Schulte rounding out the rest of the grid. Well, it has been an absolutely amazing season thus far. It's not quite over yet. We have one more round left to go in Brazil, in Interlagos, and it's going to be a fun one. My name has been Patrick Coleman, or Rekus, and we'll see you guys next time at Interlagos. Have a safe holidays and travel safe if you are traveling for the holidays, and we'll see you in 2025.